With that, I was able to apply for DevOps engineer roles as well and backend as well. I remember I replied in a company for backend role and they reverted back with an opening for DevOps engineer and so on. It's very much dependent on luck of a candidate, because I know there are some companies paying around 80 LPA base to candidates.
आज की तारीख में रिमोट जॉब्स का ट्रेंड बहुत ज्यादा हो गया है और बहुत टाइम से मैं इसी के रिलेटेड कंटेंट आप सभी के लिए बना रहा हूँ और आज के वीडियो में भी हम रिमोट जॉब्स की ही बात कर रहे होंगे। मेरे साथ है अनमोल। सारा उनसे जानते हैं कैसे उन्होंने अप्लाई किया, कहाँ अप्लाई किया, कैसे उन्हें मिली अपॉर्चुनिटी। विदाउट एनी फर्दर ड्यू, लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड विद हिज इंट्रोडक्शन। ओवर टू यू अनमोल।
Yeah. Hi, Kushal. Thank you for having me on your channel. So I'm Anmol Virdi. I'm a recent graduate from NIT Jalandhar, CS major. And talking about my previous experience, I worked at Oracle as a software intern. And I've been working remotely at a US-based startup since July. That was since the start of my final year. I was working part-time for 7th semester and my 8th semester. And then I joined the same company full-time. So before that, I worked at a couple of startups based in Singapore, and I've also worked at ISRO.
Why you always got inclined towards this remote work? क्योंकि आपने पहले सिंगापुर की कुछ कंपनीज के बारे में बताया, like you worked for them and now you're also doing a full-time job at a remote startup. So why you always inclined towards remote work?
To be very honest, जब मैं like 10th, 11th, 12th में था, I wanted to move to US or somewhere abroad, not India. But I don't know why my parents didn't allow me to even appear for SAT exam. So college में घुसते I was aiming for a remote job or maybe a job that would sponsor my visa. Then I really liked the idea of remote jobs. So I think my second year से I started applying इधर उधर. That was very impatient of me, but still it's good to start as early as possible. So I think second year के end में I got in contact with this guy from Singapore. तो उनका startup था and he really liked file and he hired me as a backend engineer intern. But eventually what I did was I started realizing कि my interest doesn't lie here. I was more interested in the CI/CD and DevOps side in the company. Before starting college, I did my basic coding and all because ICC board था and I did Java in my 9th and 10th. तो उससे ही बहुत bases बन जाते हैं, to be honest, because it's the same thing they teach you in the first semester. Java करके I think I started Python after my JEE Mains and Advanced. So when I joined college, I used to do a lot of I used to play with Turtle graphics and take Inter and all of those things. Very short, small projects. And then I switched to machine learning. I did it for 2 or 3 months, and then I eventually thought उसमें बहुत सारा maths है. I mean, it was very tough to manage classes along with the extra kind of studies. Then I switched. Then lockdown happened, and I switched to web development. I did it for 2 or 3 months again, and I didn't find it interesting during that time. So again, I switched to some other roles. Then some other thing. I did some app development as well. But eventually I got to know about DevOps from a guy who used to be my neighbor. तो वो system admin थे and he started learning DevOps on his own and उनका switch काफी inspiring था because system admin gets a very nominal pay, but DevOps engineer was at peak at that moment. It was very popular. I started learning DevOps on my own, and during that time I don't think anyone in my college knew about the term. So I wasn't able to find any relevant YouTube playlist or any relevant course online. So I read some Oriole books, some random Medium blogs, and some other random blogs, and मैंने उसे अपने basis बना लिए. I had a separate laptop to practice DevOps, and I did it for like 11 months straight because my personal source of motivation is जो बाकी लोग कर रहे हैं मैं कुछ उनसे हटके कर रहा हूँ, मुझे उसी में किक मिलती थी, and I used to do it completely. So but then reality hit me. I thought कि DevOps हो गया है, it's very cool and I'll get a lot of opportunities. But second year के end में when I started applying for internships, this thing will hit you if you're only doing this thing development. DevOps intern के लिए there are very minimal roles available because DevOps का काम is very crucial in the company. तो वो junior developers को देते ही नहीं है, right? Because they cannot depend on someone with less experience to handle all of their infra. And I didn't want to be just a DevOps engineer because I personally think in the longer run, it's a limited profile. I mean, there are career options there, but as a student, that's what I thought back then, right? So I started learning backend, and I built a profile, a combined profile of backend and DevOps, and then I started applying. So with that, I was able to apply for DevOps engineer roles as well and backend as well. I remember I applied in a company for backend role, and they reverted back with an opening for DevOps engineer and so on. So this is something that people can even do right now because of current recession, right? If they have a combined profile of more than one tech stack, I think that would be much better. So yeah, that's about it. And then I did DSA as well. I did. I mean, yeah, pretty much as pretty much as per is required as a engineering student. But I didn't do it very. To be honest, I didn't dive into CP and all because I didn't like that. So in the end, what happened was I realized that not doing DSA has caused a huge problem for me in on-campus placements. Right. So I mean, but I did manage to get an on-campus internship offer by the end of my 6th semester. But something happened. That company was scam, or I don't know what. They withdrew that offer after giving the offer letters. So that was the most lowest phase of my life, right? But I remember I used to have this habit, cold mailing, reaching out to companies, and yeah, I think I have a very nice experience in that because I did a lot of experiments, and then I remember the day this offer was withdrawn. I applied to around 100 companies, and one of them was this remote company that I applied to.
ओह अमेजिंग। बहुत सारी चीजें यार इसके अंदर। जो शुरू का पॉइंट मेरे को पकड़ में आया वो ये था कि सब कुछ ट्राई करो फिर सही चुनो। तो यू ट्राइड अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, फिर जो आपके लिए काम किया उसको लेकर आप आगे गए। सो द थिंग इज, रिजेक्शंस आज की तारीख में हर स्टूडेंट को बहुत ज्यादा मिलते हैं, रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आता। आपने 100 कंपनीज में अप्लाई किया, आपको एक से रिस्पॉन्स आया जैसे कि आपने मेंशन किया। व्हाट वाज योर थॉट प्रोसेस बैक देन? क्या चल रहा था दिमाग में और कैसे, हाउ डिड यू कोप अप विद दैट?
So I think I already have a lot of experience in getting rejections from companies. Like I applied for this. I remember I applied for a role for DevOps intern at a Germany-based company. It was a startup, but I didn't get any follow-up after. Like I had like 3 or 4 interviews in a single day. So that was disheartening. And then I mean, I used to apply for companies in Poland or somewhere else, and after interviews during the HR rounds, I used to get rejected for this visa sponsorship issue. Whenever you apply for a company on some job portal, you will receive a lot of rejections. I mean, not bragging, not bragging, but my inbox is filled with around 1,700 rejection mails. Like the one that fortunately. So I mean, yeah, I used to have this habit of at least giving 1 hour every day to apply to companies, identify and apply to companies. And then ये hit हुआ, I didn't take it. I thought like इस क्या हो जाएगा? Like I'll just lose my summer internship, or maybe I'll need some more time to apply for some other company. So I took it very personally that day. I remember I identified and applied to these companies for like 4 or 5 hours straight, and I didn't get out of my hostel room for like a week. I don't know why. But I realized everything makes sense in the end if you are consistent enough.
Fair enough.
I mean, I
Very,
could
very
have
good
just
point.
lost all hope that day, and I could have just stopped applying to any company. But no, I didn't, and I think that paid
Definitely,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, बिल्कुल यार। बहुत अच्छी बात कही। Everything will fall into place with time. And so where exactly you used to find these remote jobs? Any particular portal or any particular resource that you used?
So I'll tell you, I mean, I've seen a lot of job portals available, but I don't trust any of them personally except Wellfound and Y Combinator jobs. But that is very competitive. So what I used to do was I realized that some recruiters or some CTOs, from very renowned startups, they usually posted this thing on their LinkedIn handles or Twitter handles, that a very small text that, hey, my company is hiring for this role. Interested candidates can send their resume at this, right? And at their email ID or some job link, right? And I used to see that only 5 or 10 or 30 people have liked that post. So that means very less competition there. So what I did was a very desi jugadu kind of thing. I went to Twitter, I searched for some keywords, hiring SDE, share resume or share CV, some different combinations. And then I applied latest filter, and then I used to scroll down and used to find some posts. That was one thing I did. And the other thing that I used to do was I used to this is something very a personal experiment that I did. I used to look out for conferences in which most of these top startups are showcased. I mean, they give their demos and all. If I mean, I used to think that yeah, this is something excites me. It's on DevOps side, or it's on cybersecurity side, or it's on. I mean, if it's something that excites me, I will reach out to those people. Mostly these folks that are hiring, not just the HRs but the CTOs and CEOs, because startups में ऐसे होता है, you cannot just expect कि वो hire कर रहे होंगे and you will just apply. Startups में ऐसे होता है that you need to show yourself कि yes, I am there and I'm willing to work for you. Startups में they don't hire ऐसे ही like timely like these MNCs.
Correct.
Right? Startups में if they have your resume and if they have some, उसमें need based hiring होती है mostly. Right, so they'll see ki okay, we have this need, we need to hire a backend engineer, right? So they'll ask either other that do we have someone who wants to apply. So mostly the people who have already shown their interest will be considered, right? They won't be waiting for like 2 months to take interviews and then all of those things, right? And right now people are really crazy about remote jobs. So I think अगर कोई LinkedIn jobs portal पे डालेगा कोई भी recruiter, तो they'll get lakhs of profiles. So वो तो hire करने बहुत tough हो जाएगा. It's very impractical, right? So it's better you identify startups and just show your interest. Send them a cold mail.
बिल्कुल, I got your point there. बट ये जो कोल्ड ईमेलिंग है, इसका अगर तुम एक स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेट स्टूडेंट्स के साथ शेयर करोगे, लाइक हाउ यू यूज टू cold mail CEOs or CTOs or whatever, like what is the format you used to use?
I think I wrote a Medium blog a year back itself with the same format, but I'll elaborate it a bit. So cold mail should not be very cold. I mean, it should not be very rude that hey, if you're hiring this is my profile and or something like please hire me. That's very shitty. So what you should do is you should start with a small greeting and then give a brief intro about yourself, about your technical experience, and show your this thing about your tech stack primarily, and then move on to why do you want to join that company, or why are you intrigued by that company. So in the end, I used to think that if you're hiring for some roles now or in future, or if my profile fits any role that you are hiring for, please let me know, and my resume, just that. And with a very nice greeting. It should not be too large. Like I remember some people used to send me essays. No one has time to read that because everyone has a full-time job, right? So keep it short, to the point, and it should not be rude.
Correct. At your current company, what is the hiring process that you had, and what type of questions were being asked?
So again, it's very it's need-based hiring for now. When I appeared for the interviews, I was asked about backend, about Python, a bit of coding as well, and it was mostly inclined towards Docker and Kubernetes stuff. And because I presented my combined profile, and that was my USP back then. So I think my first round was completely based on REST APIs, Docker, Kubernetes, and what else? A bit of, I think, a bit of computer networks. And my second round was also similar. So I joined as a consultant because there are two ways that we'll come to that later. There are two ways to get a remote job if abroad. One is if you have work visa, and the other is as a consultant. So I joined as a consultant.
Okay, can you elaborate this thing?
Yeah, so there are two things. Let's just say you want to work in Canada. So if you have work visa, well and good, you can apply to the companies there, and they'll just they'll hire you, and that's it. Right? The other way is you are applying to these companies in Canada without having a valid work visa. So then you are expecting that they will sponsor that visa for you. But why will they? They already have developers in their own country. So the other way is they can hire you as consultants. That means you are legally. That means you are an independent. You're an independent business who is giving their services to companies, right? So that's not like an employee, but that's kind of a contract job in simple words. you'll get your salary and all, but
Hmm.
it excludes the employee benefits and all, right?
Correct.
So I started with that, but now I've joined full time. Yeah.
सो आज की डेट में अगर आप देखोगे ना तो जो मार्केट है, ट्विटर हो गया, लिंक्डइन हो गया, उसके ऊपर बहुत ज्यादा हीट इस पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक को लेकर है, जिस डाइवर्सिटी हायरिंग। व्हाट आर योर व्यूज ऑन इट? लाइक आई विल नॉट से कि गलत है या सही है, बट व्हाट आर योर ऑनेस्ट व्यूज ऑन इट?
So personally, I think these big MNCs are hiring. They have this diversity hiring pretty much functional there. So I think they are very sharp minds. They are very smart minds because वो लोग, even if it's about economy, वो लोग 4 साल पहले ही चलते हैं plan करके everything. So they have something in mind. I'm not sure if I know the exact reason why they're doing it, but as long as it's helping people. And one more thing, I think that diversity hiring should include the underprivileged as well. So yeah, it's fair, I think. Yeah.
तो अनमोल, एज अ फ्रेशर स्टूडेंट जो कि कॉलेज से बस निकला है, हाउ शुड द स्टूडेंट नेगोशिएट while while applying for a remote startup? Because वहां पे तो कुछ फिक्स सैलरी नहीं होती, वहां पे तो you have to, based on your experience, you have to negotiate, right? तो क्या
Right.
एवरेज एक्सपेक्ट करना चाहिए स्टूडेंट को, और कहाँ तक जा सकती है लिमिट?
I think that depends on the amount of funding and the kind of people are there in that company. Remote startups, let's just say there's a company in US, they want to hire people from India, they will pay around 30 or 40%, only 30 or 40% of what they're paying to developers there in their own country, right?
करेक्ट.
So one should just respect the market standards. One can expect around 2x, but not more than that. Around 2x as per, like let's just say there are companies offering 16 or 17 LPA. They have these offers. Mostly, I mean, they'll give you comparable offers instead of giving you a very new fresh offer with no reference. So let's just say you have 16 or 17 LPA package, you can expect around 26 or 27, but not more than that. It's
अंडरस्टूड.
around 1.5 to 2 at max. Yeah.
तो जो हाइप बना रखी थी लोगों ने कि लाइक 40 लाख बेस पे वो हो मिलता है, बट यू हैव टू हैव सम एक्सपीरियंस फॉर इट. आप एक फ्रेश आउट ऑफ कॉलेज एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते इतना ज्यादा पे, और दैट टू इन सच अ सिचुएशन.
Right. Also, it's very much dependent on luck of a candidate, because I know there are some companies paying around 80 LPA base to candidates around people of my experience itself. But usme luck hai, if you get that, well and good. Otherwise, I mean, you shouldn't be disheartened, to be honest, कि उसको ज़्यादा मिल रहा है या कम मिल रहा है.
डेफिनेटली.
There are benefits and I mean difficulties. There are differences in all of them. इनके
करेक्ट
फायदे
करेक्ट.
भी हैं, नुकसान भी. Because I worked, okay, we can create this as a different topic, that I worked as a 6 months intern at Oracle as well. The only reason why I joined is I wanted to see कि MNCs और startups में different क्या है, difference क्या है. तो startups में realize कि it's not for everyone, it's not a cup of tea for everyone, because I think people might be really excited कि startup join करना है, अंधा पैसा मिलेगा and all, but उसमें the kind of work that you are doing is very different from the kind of work you're doing in an MNC. Startups mein you don't get that much supervision. Startups mein you need to be very self-motivated, right? And usme startups mein you are answerable to everything that you are doing. MNCs mein it's like, what I realize is every task that you are getting, it comes from several layers of approval, right? And like when you are doing it, there is a separate team to test it, separate team to document it, separate team to handle its Jira story tickets and all, right? So that is very well organized wahan pe. But startups mein you have to manage everything on your own, and you have to do it correctly. If you are not doing it, you are responsible and you might be laid off pretty soon.
अंडरस्टूड. बहुत ही मजा आया यार एक्चुअली बात करने में, सारी चीजें हमने कवर कर ली है. फिर भी किसी स्टूडेंट का कोई डाउट रह गया है तो प्लीज कमेंट इट डाउन. और अनमोल का खुद का भी चैनल है जहाँ पे वो रिलेटेड कंटेंट ही शेयर करते हैं, तो यू कैन चेक दैट आउट एज वेल. सारी जर्नी उन्होंने डिटेल में शेयर कर रखी है अपनी, और उनसे डायरेक्टली आपको कनेक्ट करना है तो यू कैन चेक आउट हिज लिंक्डइन और सोशल हैंडल्स भी, व्हिच आर मेंशन्ड इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन बिलो. And thanks for watching this video. We'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.